Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Don Odell's Legends. My name is Art Tipaldi. I'm the editor of Blues Music Magazine. You can check us out online at bluesmusicmagazine.com, where you can read all our back issues. The current issue has Albert Castiglia and Mike Zito on the cover, and that issue will be on Barnes & Noble's newsstand. Tonight here at Don Odell's, we have a great friend of ours, but also a man who is known in the music world for so many different areas. This is Tom Hambridge, drummer, producer, songwriter. I don't normally do this, but I just have to read some of the stuff here. Okay, Tom's production work includes duets or solo projects with Eric Clapton, B.B. King, James Bay, Buddy Guy, Greg Allman, Keith Richards, Kev Moe, Mick Jagger, Susan Tedeschi, Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry of Aerosmith, Van Morrison, Joss Stone, Kid Rock, Billy Gibbons, Warren Haynes, Derek Trucks, George Thorogood, Gary Clark Jr., Alan Toussaint, Delbert McClinton, Johnny Winter, James Cotton, and many others, including in the blues world people like Selwyn Birchwood, Kingfish, Chris Stone, Kingfish Ingram, Altered Five Blues Band, and the list goes on and on and on. You've had over 500 songs recorded by people from A to Z in the music world, and you have your own career as your own band and your own work. Welcome.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Good to see you.
You too. So how does somebody get interested in the drums?
Well, that was something I really had no choice. That is the one thing, which is I was kind of smirking when you said.
I hope I didn't leave anybody
you said
out.
He's a drummer.
Yeah.
He's first, and because I was a drummer first.
Yeah.
When I started playing drums. My mom said when I was in diapers, I was banging on pots and pans.
You were, yeah.
And they got me my first drum set, I think, when I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still have that drum set. So I started playing in a band and professionally, getting paid when I was in the 3rd grade.
Really?
I just took to it.
Yeah.
And so I've never, as far as I know in my life, I've never not been a drummer.
Wow.
So even when I'm anywhere and I'm with my kids on a plane or something and someone says, "You look like a musician, what do you do?" I don't talk about the Grammy. I just I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, you're a drummer, huh?"
That's nice.
And I go, "Yeah," because so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's nice. So I love asking people the learning curve. A guitar player can sit and watch a guitar player and then go out. And certainly someone of your age, which is close to my age, we had records. We didn't have YouTube and videos. How did you learn? Where did you learn drum styles from?
Well, I think what we had the benefit of, which people don't have to. I mean, they have a big benefit of being able to look at something that's very complicated and go, "Oh, I see how they're doing that," and all that. Where we didn't have that, but it developed, I think, our ears more.
Yeah.
Because you had nothing. You didn't have videos on TV. You just had a record, and you had to listen to John Bonham or some Buddy Rich or Steve Gadd or whatever, and you had to go, okay, what could he possibly be doing? How is he doing that? And trying to figure it out in your ears, go, oh, that's kind of a he must be hitting the tom tom with his left hand to be able to, so you had to kind of visualize it without seeing it.
Yeah.
And I think, for me at least, I think that helped me listen to Dino Donnelly or whoever and just go, what are they doing?
Right.
And try to emulate it.
Yeah.
And play to the record.
Yeah. That's right.
So,
So were you listening to drummers of various genres, jazz, rock, blues?
Yeah, I think the thing about that is I didn't really listen to just the drummer. So I was constantly listening to the song, of course the drummer, what the bass player's doing, so I was just intrigued by, wow, I can't believe how this is all coming together. And so I would hear, Come Together by the Beatles, and of course I'm listening to Ringo go boom, boom, thinking, wow, he's like sounds he's got like towels on his drums. But I'd be hearing the bass line by Paul McCartney, and I'd be hearing the effects and what George Martin was doing, and the mix, everything was phasing, and I thought, oh my gosh. So then I was wanted to read who wrote it and who played on it, where they recorded it. So I was just learning all this stuff at once. So I don't think I'd probably be a better drummer if I was just listening to
Right.
Neil Peart or Rush records all day and just trying to do that and practice.
Yeah.
I was more trying to go, okay, how can I write a song
Right.
and bring it into my band?
Okay.
Of course, I'm a drummer. I'll know how to play.
Sure.
But I'd like to have the lyrics right, or I'd like to have a melody, or the guitar player. Could you do that? And they were like, "Well, what are you asking me to do?" And so I was always trying to do that stuff. So I wasn't just focused on. Now I listen to on YouTube. I watch some drummer, Vinny Colaiuta or something, and I'm like, this guy, I could never play like that. Yeah. This is way woo, you know.
Well, because I love the blues so much, what's the most difficult aspect of a blues drummer? Is it the shuffle,
Well, yeah, I think that's a very important part. Playing in a shuffle and playing in 6/8. Playing, I always find when people who don't know a lot about the blues,
Right.
say a drummer or something, is like, oh yeah, I can play the blues. It's like I can play Johnny Be Good.
Yeah.
Because everyone does it at weddings and all that stuff. Nobody plays it correctly. Right. Nobody plays that groove like Chuck Berry does.
Yeah.
There's a swing in there that they don't have.
That's
and so in a shuffle, there's many cats that play shuffles, but they're not playing a shuffle.
Right.
And again, when people ask me about that, I kind of am known for that. I can do that.
Right.
I listened over and over to Muddy Waters records and listened to guys playing James Cotton records, fast shuffles, where I was just, you have to, I guess it goes back to the ear again.
Yeah, that's
because it wasn't me sitting on a drum kit.
Right.
I just knew where the left hand felt.
Yeah.
And I had to listen and just go, oh no, I think it's that way, and a Texas shuffles this way, and a Chicago shuffles that way. I could hear the difference a little bit.
Right.
And but I think you have to immerse yourself in it.
Yeah. You say because of what you've listened to, et cetera. I know there are people who are what we call super tasters. We have a friend who can taste tar and tobacco in a glass of wine. Right. But if you give her the mildest of salsas, her mouth is on fire.
Right.
Would you say, do you have some sort of hearing that I don't have? Are you able to hear as you
I'm gonna say, be honest with you, I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because in the studio when I'm making records all the time, and sometimes I feel like a freak because I'll say, there's a note coming up on the piano, and it's bar 47. We need to fix that, and the engineers will be looking away from me, and I have great engineers, but some of the guys are young, and they look at the Pro Tools. They look at the screen and they're going, Tom's out of his mind. He doesn't know it. And I'll go, I'm hearing it. You guys, or it's solo everything. They're like, well, we don't see it. And I say, don't look.
Right.
Look away and listen. And sometimes they'll hear it, and sometimes I'll just say, strip it down, now just solo the piano. And you'll hear this, the guy hit the music stand, or there was, and they'll go, how did you hear that? And so I think from just listening my whole life, because I'm also a drummer, so I'm half deaf.
Right.
So I can't hear what you're saying sometimes. My wife always says, you're half deaf. I said, but when I'm listening to music, for some reason my brain works different. And I can go, that's a little sharp. And they're like, no, I think I sang that right. I go, that's a little sharp. I'm not trying to be mean. No. I'm just saying I hear it, and it's a little sharp. We just need to have you do it one more time. And they might come into the control room and go, oh, wow, it's really sharp.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, that's what I was hearing.
That's right.
But you don't always hear it, when you're, so,
I think that makes some of the best producers out there, in blues world, that they can hear what 80% of the population can't hear. You can pick out these frequencies that...
And now at the other side of it, sometimes I think it probably doesn't matter because no one's going to hear that piano note that's wrong.
Right.
But I will hear it. And I think if I make records and I have my names on the record, so I want to make sure everything is in its place, because I think if you leave too many of those things dusty, the record's dirty. It doesn't have, it's not clean. And so I'm constantly staying there late going, no, we got to clean up that intro.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you hear in the intro? And I'm like, there's a crackle. We just got to clean the intro. And it's, so I'm kind of anal about that stuff.
Right.
But I want a record to sound like Sgt. Pepper or something.
Yeah.
And George Martin was like that.
Yeah.
And these guys that were so awesome.
Right.
That just heard everything. I want
Yeah.
to at least try
Right.
to be at that level.
Yeah.
You know?
That's funny because I get so many CDs, you know,
Sure,
as the
you
editor,
know, yeah.
and I can hear, I don't have your hearing, but I can hear the CD and I just say, why didn't these people spend a little more time before they put this to this disc? Because it could have been so much better, and they've just missed it.
They don't know sometimes. They
Yeah.
don't know. They don't. It's just the same thing with songs. They'll send me songs. They'll say, "This is what I want to record,
Yeah.
and I want you to make the record."
Yeah.
And I'll go, "I don't want to make that record."
Right,
And they'll go,
right.
"Why?" And I'll say, "Well, I don't think the songs are. You know, I don't think we have the best songs, or I don't think." And sometimes they get offended. Sometimes they come back at me and they'll say, "Well, show me a song that's better than this." And I'll say, "Well, I'm writing a song today." I said, "I'll send you when I'm done in an hour. I'll send you the song I wrote today."
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a work tape of me banging around in my basement, but I'll send it to you.
Right.
But I think, and then you be the judge. And they'll call me back and they'll say,
Yeah.
my wife's crying. This song's unbelievable. You know, and I go, well, that's what I want you to send me. I want you to send me 10 of those.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, is that all? There's so many things we can talk about in so little time. Is that sort of the getting in the studio with some of these bands who hire you to produce, where it's like, what's the pre-game that you guys go through?
Well,
Or do you have a template that you sort of?
Well, the template's in my head.
Yeah,
and it's but I can see, just like when I'm listening. I mean, I can kind of see from a few parts a possible finished painting.
Okay.
The way I make records. So if I'm listening to you and you come to me and you have this little bit over here and I hear you sing. And I hear your octave, what you're doing, and you play me something on your guitar, and I know you've been writing this stuff. I mean, I might say we need better stuff here, we need stuff, but I can see how I think I could make a great record on it.
Okay.
You've got some intangibles, but you know, so that's kind of how it starts, because these days, you know, there's a lot of acts that want me to work with them.
Right.
And so I have to say sometimes, if you want to write the songs, which I'm happy if you write the song, because normally I have to write all the songs for all these records, you have to really bear down and really, you can't cheat it.
Right.
You can't have a weak link in this chain, because it's going to affect your record.
Yeah.
And I won't want to make a shitty record. I don't want to. And so we really have to. So right up until when we're in the studio, even when we're past all that, when we're there and you're singing, I might say we got a better idea for this verse, because it's not working. You know, so because it's like finding a mistake.
Yeah.
You just keep upping the bar.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like you say, someone will send me their CD and they'll say, these are the songs I want to do it, and you're listening, going, it's like they let there's a lot of holes in the boat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't want to sound, you know.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's important that that listeners, you know, and anybody I talk to about music knows that you don't just say, "Oh, we got a band, let's go in the studio and make a record."
Yeah.
There's like you don't do that with a meal. You don't sit down and say, well, here's the stuff, let's make a meal. You're planning everything. Everything is always a plan.
And, you know, in the blues world, you know, you could be a great singer, but if you're singing, you're not singing good stuff.
Yeah.
Or you could be a great guitar player. There's a lot of great guitar players, a lot of great soloing.
Right.
Solo after solo after solo after solo. What sets your record apart?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just I can play so great, so let's just do Stormy Monday, Sweet Home Chicago, and then there's that little thing that has just one chord and a little bit of some words, and it doesn't really mean anything. I don't know, but you're up against, you know, Skin Deep or whatever. You know, come on.
That's right.
Let's have this stuff down.
That's
you know?
right.
So, anyways, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
So when you do have, now I understand, you know, I want to make the best record for you and a best record for you. What do you do when you have an artist come back to you a second and a third time, and you, like Kingfish, like Buddy, like Altered Five.
Yeah.
How do you make the next CD the next rung in the ladder?
Yeah. Well, it's a challenge.
So that it doesn't sound like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just
no, I
Kingfish
totally get
again.
it, because
Yeah.
that's the first thing I do as
Yeah.
I go. I mean, I remember being at the Grammys with Skin Deep with Buddy Guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first record I did with him. But I remember thinking, man, I can't believe I'm at the Grammys here, and we did this record, and he says it's his favorite album, and B.B. King's there going, oh, this record, Tom, that's unbelievable, and it just whatever.
Yeah.
And we were leaving the Grammys, and he was getting into his limo, and I remember just walking this way, and he said, hey, Tom, so start working on the next one.
Yeah.
Start getting that together. And I remember thinking, the next one? He goes, yeah, the next record. Because you wrote the songs and all that. Start working on it.
Right.
What's it going to be about?
Yeah.
What's it? And like I was scared, nervous, because I thought, well, I did the record with Buddy. I mean, I did it. Cross it
That's
off
right.
the list.
That's
I'm
right.
done.
Yeah.
And but I thought, wow. So I really, I sit around and think about, start writing songs. Live and Prove was the next record I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to talk about his age, and 74 years young, and all this stuff, and where he lived, and so I'm trying to. It is always a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Like with Kingfish.
Yeah,
Same thing with Kingfish. I just had this idea about 662.
that's right. That's cool.
I had these songs I was coming up with, and trying to. He was in his living room and he couldn't go anywhere. And he's
Yeah.
just. And I'd say, okay, so this is the idea I have about what's around your house. What's outside.
Yeah, yeah.
How close are you to the water?
Yeah.
Is the ground wet? What's
Yeah,
the
right.
temperature like? Is it sticky there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah.
and so it was really cool. We kind of
That's
came up with
neat.
this record that
Yeah.
that sounds like where he's from. you
Yeah,
know?
that's right.
The area code.
Yeah.
And
That's neat.
anyway, so that was
Yeah.
an idea. I thought I don't know if it'll work, but that's what I'm going to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
The blues is alive and well. I was just trying to think. I said, as long as Buddy Guy's alive, because you're one of the last remaining
Right,
guys, then the
right.
blues is alive and well.
Yeah.
That was the idea of the
Yeah,
song. So I
yeah.
wanted to write songs about that. you
Right,
know,
right.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that's the most challenging. I know if I've gotten the opportunity to write liner notes for a performer, and then that performer asks me to write them for the next CD, it's kind of like, oh,
You've already said,
how might
yeah.
what can I do different? And you're right, you play all these different things in your
Sure.
head.
Yeah, all this
See
stuff
if there's a
is-
new angle you can come at
Yeah.
it with. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. Well, one of the things and you've mentioned now, you've worked with Buddy since Skin Deep as his primary producer, songwriter. Now you're the drummer in his band with the passing of Tim, of
Right.
course. How did you get the Buddy Guy gig? I know the answer, but I'm going to let him.
Oh,
tell
you mean like the producing or
How
the
did you
drumming?
get
or
the? Yeah, how did you get the gig as producing Skin Deep and writing?
That was.
Well,
well, I
he
can
didn't
tell
just
you.
pick up the phone and call you.
Well, it goes to stuff that like I have my
Yeah.
own records out,
Right.
And I've been an artist through the years. So, I had a big record out called Balderdash on a major label, and one of the tours they put me on. This was in 2000. It was opening for Buddy Guy. So I went out and did about 15 or 16 shows with Buddy Guy, and he never sees the opener. He arrives at the show at the intermission when the opener's done.
Yeah.
And then goes on and plays. And so this might have been like night 10 or something. I was walking off the stage, and his manager at the time, this is way before the current management, said, Buddy wants to see you in his dressing room. And I thought, oh, geez, Buddy Guy wants to see me in his dressing room. I thought I was getting fired off the tour. I must have done something weird. And I went into the dressing room, and he's sitting there with a glass of cognac, and he goes, wow, man. He goes, come on in here. You want to have a drink? And I go, sure. And he goes, I got here early. My driver messed up the times, and I just caught your set. They have a speaker back here.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, so you were doing this Johnny Winner thing, this song I like by Johnny Winner, Lone Wolf or whatever. And I said, he goes, so what was the deal on that? And I said, well, I wrote that.
Yeah.
He goes, you wrote Lone Wolf. He goes, and then you did Susan Tedeschi, Rock Me Right, and then
Yeah.
you did this other thing by blah, 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 Thorogood. He goes, what's your angle on this? And I said, I go, well, I wrote all those songs.
They're mine.
And he goes, what?
Yeah.
He goes, well, why haven't you written any songs for me? And I said, well, I'd be honored to write a song for you.
Sure.
But, he goes, well, we got to make that happen. And that was kind of it. And then a few years later, I got a call, and it was RCA Records, and it was the head of A&R, and he said, we're getting ready to do another Buddy Guy record, and I know you produced this. Buddy asked us to reach out to you as to be considered one of the guys. We have the top producers in the world that want to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, well, and then I said, I'm interested, whatever. And then they called me back and they said, well, Buddy wants to know what kind of record you'd make for him. And I said, well, every time I see him, he's like a rocker. He's out of control. He's like on fire.
Yeah.
Loud, take no prisoners. I'd like to get that. And I think he's a great singer. And they don't usually concentrate on his vocal. It's all the guitar stuff. Yeah. I'd love to get intimate with his singing, and I'd like him to sing about his life. It always seems he's doing what, Mustang Sally or this, great, wonderful, but I'd like to know his story.
Yeah.
And then Buddy called and said, well, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'd have to, I'm a songwriter and a producer, so I would have to, I'd have to talk to you, and you'd have to tell me about your life.
Yeah.
And the more we did that, the more I would just go and write songs and then play them for him, and he'd say, man, this is crazy. That's just how I feel. And I'd say, well, that's because you told me that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So it worked out.
Wow, and here you are. I know as a songwriter, you had some wonderful comments in your show. You were talking about the most important thing for a songwriter is...
Oh, well, I was saying...
As an English teacher who taught writing, I loved it.
Yeah, well, I'd say the first line of the song, the first line that you put down. And actually, it's every line.
Yeah.
It's every line.
Right.
But so many, as we talked about the stuff you get in the mail and all that stuff, so many times I get something that is just unfinished or not thought out, or they're repeating the same message each verse. And it is so important, to that first line is not a throwaway line.
No.
None of the lines are throwaways, And people to this day do that. They go, da 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 da. Well, let's just put anything there. And I'm like, well, why would you do that for your craft?
Yeah.
You are actually writing a song that can change people's lives.
Yeah.
Let's dig deeper.
Yeah.
Let's spend a few more minutes on the throwaway line. And sometimes you surprise yourself. You go, wow, that's a good line. That's a good line, Art. And let's put that one in there. Yeah. And you've bettered the song.
That's right. They'll take the easy rhyme.
Oh,
it'll be like, oh, I know what's coming now, and if you'd spent another minute, you could have found a much better image, to get to
well,
the
that's
reader.
the whole thing too. You have to you can't be cliche.
No.
Well, you can be, I guess, but I would rather not be.
No.
I would rather find another way of saying the same thing, but in a new way. Maybe.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
In a new way.
Yeah. Lastly, now, you're also drumming now with Buddy's band on the farewell tour, but I always think of the drums as the engine that drives the band. Can you talk a little bit about how that concept, how you are the engine in Buddy Guy's band, and how the drummer can control what's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of like, to me, like the catcher on a baseball team. You're calling the signals. You're telling the pitcher what to do.
Yeah.
You're reading the moving guys in the outfield. You're involved in every play.
Yes.
Where the left fielder can be kind of just, there's a left-handed batter up, and he's just kind of out there going, "You're not going to hit it my way anyway." So I'm a little off for, And there's a lot of guys that aren't involved with every play.
Right.
The drummer, I think, is you're right. It's the engine room. So I know my job with Buddy is to keep the energy up, and also when he goes to a certain level, go to that level with him.
Got it.
And you take everyone with you.
Got it.
And when he wants to hear a pin drop and come down, I'm reading him.
Right.
And the moment that happens, I snap on it, and everybody comes down.
That's
Everyone around goes down.
Yeah.
And if he goes, oh yeah, bang, he wants to hit something.
Yes.
They're looking at me because I'm looking at him.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so plus he has no set list.
Yeah.
So if he starts doing something, I might go, 3, da 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 da, G minor.
Yeah.
I think he's doing that song.
Yeah.
You know, and 90% of the time we're right.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
but we, you know, the guys in the band are so great, and but it is a thing where it's a focus. I'm on him.
Yeah.
And when I play with Chuck Berry, when I play with Bo Diddley, Hank Williams Jr., whatever, I'm on those
Yes,
guys
yeah.
because they change
So quickly.
in the middle of midstream.
Yeah,
They want to
yeah.
go here, they want to go here.
Yeah.
It's not like a set list where I'm playing to a click and we know that that's the 7 minutes in, there's an acoustic thing, and then it's watch
Right.
and just go with it.
Don't ever think you can go, oh, I got this.
Yeah. If he wants to go long, if he wants to go into the audience and you got to be on stun, on
Yeah.
11
Yeah.
for 15 minutes,
Right, right.
then you got to be on stun 11 for 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And there's no rest period.
Right, right, right.
You know, there's no break for
That's
us.
right.
We just got to do it. So I love it, and
Yeah.
I love playing with guys that are legends like
That's
that.
right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. I always say, to me, the best drummers are the drummers I don't know are even there.
Right,
You know.
yeah.
When they're just so understated and quietly moving everything along, at a beautiful pace. Well, thank you so much. Oh, just quickly, as a songwriter, hundreds, thousands of songs. Can you name 2 or 3 songs that you are most proud of that you've put together?
Oh gosh. Well, I think the Shoebox is
Yeah.
one that I'm
Great
proud
song.
of. I did a new one tonight called "That's Why They Make Jack Daniels."
Yep, I heard that
Which anytime, I mean, I'm trying to think. There's a couple singles that came out this week of artists that of my songs. I don't know.
What a thrill.
I'm just thrilled that
Yeah.
anyone wants to record my songs.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love, Eric Gales was on the show the other night, and I worked really hard writing songs with him and Joe
that
on that
album.
new record.
I just
and,
thought that was the
so
best.
it's really, You Don't Know the Blues, when that comes on. I mean, I remember we wrote that at my house, and I remember thinking, so there's things I'm proud of when I
Yeah.
see like an artist like that. When I see Kingfish, and she calls me Kingfish and
Yeah,
Long
yeah,
Distance
yeah,
Woman,
yeah,
and he's
yeah.
doing these songs that we wrote, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud. And when
Yeah.
Buddy does, certain
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
I'm-
Skin Deep, of course.
Yeah,
Just-
I'm.
yeah, that's beautiful.
I know that the Blues Don't Lie, which won Song of the Year at the Blues Awards.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
on the road, but
Yep.
and it also is the most played song on XM Bluesville and for the year. And I remember when I was writing that, I was trying to come up with songs and a title for an album for Buddy, and he just kept saying, how's it going? How's it going? And I remember being in a hotel room because we were on the road,
Yeah.
and we had gone to dinner the night before, and he had said to me, well, last time I talked to Sonny Boy, he was in Little Rock. And I said, oh, wow, he was in Little Rock. What was he doing there? And he said, well, somebody had said that he went home. He was from there. And I said, oh, why did he go home? He goes, I think he went home to die.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, so the next day I'm writing in my hotel room, and I'm just thinking, I got to come up with songs with Buddy. And I went, Sonny Boy went to Little Rock. Sonny Boy went to Little Rock. Said he was going home to die. And I'm like, Sonny Boy went to Little Rock, said he was going home to die. And then I said, went to the four chord, I said, Sonny Boy told the truth, and the blues don't lie.
Oh my gosh.
I remember I had chills, and there was nobody around me, and I was just going like, I think I have the title for the album, and I think I have a thread
direction. Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
going to do some B.B. King on this.
Yeah.
We're going to get down to the Sonny Boy,
Mhm.
King B,
Mhm.
and so that's how stuff happens.
Wow.
Where,
Yeah.
but you have to take time
Yeah.
to write.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can tell when people haven't taken time, which is a lot of times sitting there and trying things.
Yeah.
I mean, I kept saying, Sonny Boy went to Little Rock. There's no song there. I'm just going,
No,
Sonny Boy
no.
went to Little Rock. And then I said he was going home to die. Sonny Boy went to Little Rock, said he was going home to die. Sonny Boy told the truth, and the blues don't lie.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow, I think we're
Yeah.
onto something.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. Oh,
you know how
I
you
know.
write.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
but you got to
Yep.
take time with a pencil and paper.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I
You
know
know?
it. I know
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate your time tonight,
Oh.
hanging after the show. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tom Hambridge, a great drummer, great producer, great songwriter, just a great human being. So enjoy.